Teachers, a person who plays one of the most important roles in one's early life. Their job is to teach kids, teenagers, adults about different subjects, topics, and lessons in life. They teach students as much as they can before they go off into the real world. Their job can be hard, and some can be better at it than others. A student has a student has numerous teachers in their education. We can classify our teachers into five main categories. We have preschool teachers, elementary school teachers, secondary school teachers, special education teachers, and the college and university professors. Then we can divide them by placing them into their respective field of teaching, whether it be a background in English, math, science, or etc. You can divide them even further based on their teaching styles and stereotypes. Some can be strict teachers, nice teachers, goofy teachers, careless teachers, a substitute teacher, or a student teacher. Each student has their own favorite teacher, and each student can say there's always this one type of teacher wherever you go in any school campus, in any school institution. So, guys, we all have been in a classroom at least once in our lives, hopefully more than that. And we have experienced a lot of interesting characteristics of teachers. We can even say that they are always this certain type of characteristic of teachers that has to be in every school. So let's start with you, Miss Maya. Share one characteristic of a stereotype of a teacher that can always be found in a classroom.
So, when I was in high school, there was a teacher who always had this bad attitude and acted like she wasn't a problem when she was. Almost the whole school hated her, and if someone liked her, it would be weird because even some teachers didn't like her and would complain about her also. I neither liked or hate this teacher because my mind was set on passing her class that she taught. The only time a problem arose between me and her was on a random day when she decided to make everyone wear masks because she claimed that our class specifically was making her get sick. Keep in mind, this lady taught other classes throughout the day. When that happened, I didn't have a mask. I forgot to mention around this time, my school allowed all of us to stop wearing masks because it wasn't necessary. Anyways, I had to go ask her to get a mask, but someone in class gave me one. Okay.
So, so if I were to guess, this teacher would be the miserable, unapproachable teacher.
I
Yeah.
would say it was good and bad. I mean, she taught well and was thorough, but her attitude was too much to deal with. She was not approachable whatsoever because she felt like she wasn't the problem. I remember my whole class was talking to her about a problem that had happened, and she turned the whole thing around and said it was because of us she acted that way.
Man. So what subject did this teacher teach?
She taught IT.
Not the IT teacher, man. Thanks, Mal. We have discussed the miserable stereotype with Miss Maya. And now we hear from our next guest. Thanks, Maya. So now we hear from our next guest, Miss Sandra. Welcome, Miss Sandra.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
So, Sandra, we all have that one teacher who's always missing, whether they may be sick, have family matters, or even if they just forget they have class. Share with us your experience dealing with one of these type of teachers.
Sure. Well, when I was a high school student, I had a teacher whose name was Mr. Logan, who even when he was on campus was regularly absent due to illness or family issues. I do understand if a teacher must deal with family emergency or a personal emergency, because we all do have emergencies, but his in his case it was a last cause. He was more absent than me in fourth form, and it's because I was absent 14 times. We never knew when emergency may occur, even when we are about to get sick. But if it's a sickness that could be handled, then the teacher should really consider still coming to class, especially if they are getting paid for it.
That's true. That's true. So, what was your experience like being with this teacher, Sandra?
It was difficult for me to keep up with the content because he was always absent and moving from topic to topic, regularly forgetting where he left off last, and my learning was being interfered with.
Hmm. But did he offer any extra classes, or was he approachable in any way if you didn't understand something in class?
Well, I found it difficult to talk to Mr. Logan when he was present in class for the few times he was there. When it was time to question about my grades or about the subject of history that he teach, I felt that I didn't even know him or built a student-teacher relationship with him.
Thanks, Miss Sandra, for sharing your experience. This situation shows the importance of classroom interaction and brings concerns as to how instructors' absence affects students' learning, as in Miss Sandra's case. Thank you, Miss Sandra.
Thank you.
So we have our third guest now, Miss Shavana. Welcome, Miss Shavana.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me on this lovely set today.
You're more than welcome, Miss Shavana. Let's dive in right into our conversation. We have previously heard a lot of negative experience from our earlier guests. So, Shavana, please share with us and our viewers at home your experience with a friendly type of teacher. That teacher you know likable by everybody. That cool teacher.
Well, at St. Catherine's Academy, there was a teacher named Mr. Anderson who genuinely cared about his students' well being. He believed in building strong relationships with his students to create a positive and supportive learning environment. Mr. Anderson goes the extra mile to know each and every one of his students individually, learning our interests and challenges we may have faced in his class. He listened to our concerns, offered guidance, and encouraged open communication. As a result, we felt comfortable approaching him with our questions or problems, knowing we have a trusted adult who genuinely cares about our success. I really enjoyed having him as a teacher, especially since he was easily approachable.
So, if I were to guess what subject Mr. Anderson would teach, it would be English.
Well, you're correct on that one. He was an English and a literature teacher.
Well, Mr. Anderson showcases the positive impact that teachers can have when they strive to be friends with their students. And now moving to our final guest, Mr. Corbin. Thanks for joining us today, Ms. Shavana.
You're welcome.
So now we have our final guest. We have Mr. Corbin, a student joining us today. Welcome, Corbin.
Thanks, man. It's a lovely atmosphere. I mean, I don't feel hyped for the interview.
Of course, of course. You're very much welcome. You know, earlier we had three guests before you, and they named three common stereotypes that a student will definitely find on a campus. So right now, Corbin, I want you to share with us the last stereotype. It's all about the type of teacher. You know, that teacher who talks about his life career and the topic of teaching. So share with us that experience with that kind of teacher.
First off, for the respect of the teacher, I won't call him or her. Wait, now he obviously
Yeah, no names,
will
no
not
names.
call out by real name. So, Mr. Bartholomew was my Spanish teacher back in Edward Piat, back in Fort Farm.
Yeah,
And I remember every, let's start with Monday. On Monday classes, Mr. Bartholomew will tell the whole class about his lame dry weekend. I mean,
yeah,
who wants to hear a man walking his dog? That's lame. Then on no, from him telling us about his weekend, he would go and sit around the table and not even teach as much. He would be on his phone scrolling on Facebook or some sort of social media, ignoring the class. Friday class, no, I can't complain. Who wants to do work on Friday?
right.
And I mean, Like Spanish class was always the last class on Friday. So on Friday classes, on every Friday, Spanish classes are the last classes. So from 2 o'clock to 2:50, Mr. Bartholomew will come in class and sit on the table, not even the chair, sit on the table and go on his phone and just scroll and be just this cool teacher. I mean, we need teaching, right? But Fridays, we can give the exception.
Yeah.
So from Friday to Sunday, from Friday 2 o'clock, our weekend start.
Yeah.
And I guess Mr. Bartholomew was a good and bad teacher in my eyes.
So, how did this impact your learning, though?
To be honest, it impacted me in somewhat a good way because by him being a laid back teacher, which was bad to certain students, it allowed me to be more responsible and take on the challenge to do extra studying and research for my Spanish class.
Wow, that somewhat bad teaching situation turned out to be positive for you, Mr. Corbin. Thanks for sharing with us that interesting story.
Yes, sir. You're welcome for having me today.
Thanks. Now, coming to the end of this week's podcast, we thank all our sponsors and investors. Big up to Bowen and Bowen at SGSC. Yes, and we thank all our amazing guests for taking time out of their schedules to come and share with us and the viewers. Like, comment, and subscribe.